Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade, J52, and I am joined this week by my merry cohort, Teacher of the Kirby variety.
Hello!
Neela is also on the server with us. He is currently AFK, and hopefully should be joining us here pretty soon. Whatnot. Artie is actually helping out some friends with a convention and will not be joining us this evening. Whatnot. I know we didn't have a show last week. I've had some personal stuff to take care of. I know Kirby was feeling like poo, so we just run around. But we do have some interesting stuff for you guys this evening, and as such, while it's not a lot, let's go ahead and dive into what we have. Now, the first big thing is there wasn't really an article that went out on this that we could update into our notes, but in addition to the key sale that was going on until just yesterday, we also have the keyring bundle. This is probably going to be around a few more days. I don't know exactly how long off the top of my head, but
Until the 30th.
Until the 30th, okay, so that would be Monday, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. So
No, Tuesday.
Tuesday. My bad.
I know because I have a doctor's appointment on the 31st, and that's Wednesday.
Okay. So
Don't ask me how I keep the...
I don't know how she does it either, folks, but yeah. So, yeah, keyring bundle until the 30th, which will be Tuesday. So, basically, if you are looking to invest in lockbox keys and everything, and you're planning to buy at least 20 of them anyway, then go ahead and get the keyring bundle, because you're going to get yourself an Ultimate Tech upgrade along with it. Now, what is so good about the Ultimate Tech upgrades is, just like you can see in the photo here, they take any one item you apply them to straight to Mark 14 Epic with no dilithium cost. It could be, you could throw these on anything from a Mark II crafted item to something a little bit more guaranteed, like, say, a Kobali Warp Core, or a Fleet Core, or quite a bit of anything that you can upgrade, you could throw one of these on.
Yes. And they do become even more versatile now that re-engineering has been introduced into the game, which we can talk about a little bit after we finish all these articles.
Yep. Because there actually have been a few re-engineering changes that I know I personally would like to point out and everything, and I'm sure Kirby's got a couple as well. But, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the Ultimate Tech upgrades go, I know myself and Kirby have used a few of these over our STO careers, especially since they've been out. And one thing we would highly recommend, if you are going to use something like this, I would highly recommend not using it on something that you don't plan to keep very long, or something that you're not going to put in your final build. Because
right.
you're essentially paying $20 to get this, so it's not exactly cheap to produce in terms of overall investment, being real cash, of course, or a lot of dilithium to flip to Zen. So be sure it's something you want to use it on, because they are very expensive to produce. But anyways, that's the big thing that we didn't really have an article for in our notes and everything, but the keyring bundle will be going until the 30th. But moving along to our first article that we do have something on, we have our 8th anniversary.
Yes, so the 8th anniversary has started. It started on Thursday, I do believe.
It was...
And I'm in game farming
Tuesday.
right now. Was it Tuesday? Yes, you're right, it was Tuesday. Okay. Finally able to pull up the darn stuff. Okay. Tuesday, you're right. And, of course, it is from January 23rd till February 2nd. So almost a full month. We have the Omega Molecule Stabilization game. Comes out every year. This is it the third or the fourth year with this?
Want to
I believe it's at least the third.
Want to think the fourth, if I'm not mistaken?
I want to think the fourth as well, but I know it's been around at least 3 years. So, now the Omega Stabilization game, this is an awesome thing. I know it's annoying and it's up and down and through the lanes. It can be, but trust me, if you just shut off your mind and pay attention to something else, you'll find you can do pretty well on it. At least that's what works for me. But you have to do a daily mission where you play the game 3 times in 3 different zones that Q gives you in order to get your 40 vouchers to get the ship. The Omega Stabilization game is also quite lucrative if you want Omega upgrades. Omega upgrades are an awesome thing, and we'll have more about those later. Maybe next week I'll have a teacher's corner on them. But yeah, Omega upgrades are quite a good thing, and so we'll have. So those are a very important thing to do. The better you score, the more you get, and so there you go with that. Then there is the Party Patrol game, and this gives you, you'll earn great rewards like dilithium ore, reputation marks, fleet marks, various things like that. And then, as with every year, there is a new party popper, and this one, you unlock the power of protomatter as a special reward for completing the Omega Molecule Specialization event. And you can see, if you're looking at the article, which I'm sure Darkblade has up, you can see the animation that it does. It's quite interesting. And there is a new emote pack. There are 9 brand new emotes, and you can see them. What do you think of that? Random Orion Warrior, and it has him doing various emotes. He's doing slow clap. And then, of course, there's the unusual dance and the various ones I've seen, reading the pad, and what was the other one? There's 9 new ones that are quite cute. So there you go. That's what's new for the anniversary. Did you have anything you wanted to add there, Chris?
Actually, a couple of little bitty things. Now, as far as the Omegas go, we did kind of touch base on those a little bit. If you are curious, I did do the math a while back, and it takes 27 of the individual colored particles to create a single tech upgrade. Because it takes 1 of each color to make a sliver, 3 slivers to make a shard, 3 shards to make a fragment, and 3 fragments to make a tech. So there is that. And one of my personal favorites out of these emotes that they're doing, and I'm actually going to show this in game because I have the emote, and it is the smooth dance. And as soon as I hit this button, some people are probably going to know what it's from, and if not, I feel for you because, well, you know. So in case folks have not figured it out, it is the Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal Dance.
Oh.
So that is what that is. But yeah, so that is a cool little thing that they have, and
the unusual dance is the dancing to Tom Jones, like Carlton did in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Sweet.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. Yep.
But that is our...
They're cute.
Oh yeah. If you're somebody that appreciates the little things like emotes and whatnot, you'll definitely enjoy these. But moving along, we have our new featured episode, Scylla and Charybdis, which you guys should recognize those names from Greek mythology, if somebody that enjoys that kind of stuff. It says, after the events at Draenor, the Zenkethi have become even more aggressive. Their new campaign of bombing planets from space has become top priority for the Alliance to stop. Each of the major Alliance factions have attempted to reach out to the Zenkethi with no progress. In response, a joint force is being organized to repel the Zenkethi fleet to stop them once and for all. In Silan Charybdis, you will hunt down the Zenkethi fleet to end their crusade. Along with allies old and new, you will strike at the heart of the fleet and decide the fate of the Alpha Quadrant. Join General Martok, Captains LaForge and Kumarke against the genocidal foe. Now, while this is a featured episode, you do get the featured episode reward pack that will give you either a Universal Tech upgrade or a spec point. I personally prefer the spec point and everything.
Yes.
Then there's also, while this is going on, you can play from level 10 characters and up. Then Romulan players will have to have chosen a faction. After this, it'll be in their normal mission journal. But without giving away any spoilers, I think people, especially if you're a DS9 fan, I think you're going to enjoy this episode.
Yeah, I agree. And again, without giving away any spoilers, we can say there is a big revelation. Actually,
yes.
There's a couple in this episode.
Let's say there's... Yeah, there's actually, I think, 3 big ones, for sure.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah. So, this is one of the better episodes, in my opinion.
It's pretty big.
Yeah. This is one of the better ones they've put out in quite a while. Which is not to say that any of the rest of them suck, but this is definitely one of their better ones, in my opinion.
And if you plan on getting the anniversary ship, which we definitely recommend, then you're going to need to play the episode before the anniversary event ends, because otherwise there are not enough days to earn the ship just playing the Omega game.
Yep. But yeah, definitely check this one out. You're not going to be sorry, in my opinion. But it does, we can give this away without giving too many, really any spoilers. It does kind of tie in to some of the stuff that we might see this summer with the new expansion. I'm not really going to say more than that. But that's mainly because we want you guys to be able to experience it for yourselves, for those of you that may not have gotten to already. And it did give us a space set this time around for the rewards and everything. So I'm sure we'll probably talk about that at some point once all the items are released. But yeah, that's our new episode. But moving right along, we have the Bajoran Interceptor.
Yes, the Bajoran Interceptor is this year's anniversary ship. And so in order to get it, you need to earn 1,000 of the 8th anniversary prize vouchers by participating in the minigame, the Omega minigame event. So the Bajoran Interceptor is a escort. Words, I can't words tonight.
Methinks we need
It's
to engage the Kirby reboot program.
I know, right? Okay, it's a Denorius class Bajoran Interceptor, named after the Denorius belt where the wormhole was discovered. The starship features a Lieutenant Commander Tactical / Pilot Specialist Bridge Officer seat and a Lieutenant Universal / Pilot Specialist Bridge Officer seat. So 2 pilot seats. 6 ship available to all factions. It will only be available from this anniversary event. So even if you think you don't want it, slot it and get it anyway, because you won't be able to change your mind and get it again next year. You need to be at least rank 40 in order to play, or in order to fly it. And let's see. You get 5 weapons in front, 2 in the back, 2 device slots. Your bridge officer stations, you have Lieutenant Commander Tactical / Pilot, Commander Pilot, or sorry, Commander Tactical.
I was about to say.
I can't read tonight.
You sure you're not
Commander
inebriated?
Tactical. I'm sure. Well, I mean, unless you count my meds.
Yep, she's inebriated.
See, because I've been sick and I've been coughing a lot, I have this cough syrup, and it has codeine in it. So that
Anyway.
on top of my normal meds. Yeah. Hi. Okay, where were we? Commander Tactical. 1 Ensign Engineering, 1 Lieutenant Commander Science, 1 Lieutenant Universal / Pilot. And our consoles, we have 4 tactical consoles, 3 engineering, and 4 science. Base turn rate is 18 degrees per second, which means it'll whip around like crazy. Okay, and we get an extra 10 to weapon power, 5 to shield power, and 5 to engines. It does get a experimental weapon, or heavy weapon. This heavy weapon is called the Voice of the Prophets. And let's see, and it has the escort package for the Starship Mastery, and the Tier 5 ship trait is called Harrying Maneuvers. And we'll read more about that in a bit. For our Admiralty ship stats, it gets 26 Eng, Psi 41, Tactical 59, with a plus 10 tac per tac ship. The console is universal, and it is called Domino. Okay, D period O period, you can do that. And it's short for the Denorius Offense Matrix and Invader Neutralization Overdrive. Try saying that 5 times fast. It is a complex training system used by the Bajoran Defense Ministry to heighten combat awareness in its starship crews by overdriving select weapon systems, then cross-wiring the availability of these enhancements into a specialized sensor suite that recognizes when an enemy is defeated. Combat performance may be improved temporarily and then rewarded by extended improvements. Wiring this training protocol into bridge systems allows combat-ready performance increases even if they still must be earned. This console also provides a passive boost to phaser damage and accuracy rating. This console may be equipped in any console slot on any starship. You may have one of these consoles equipped at a time. And our Herring Maneuvers Starship trait, activating emergency power to engines or any pilot bridge officer ability, will temporarily grant you a major increase to accuracy rating along with bonuses to shield penetration and armor penetration. In addition to these bonuses, your weapons gain a chance to render one subsystem offline at random once per second. This bonus may only be gained once every several seconds. And our experimental weapon, Voice of the Prophets. Voice of the Prophets was originally created as mining machinery for harvesting resources from the Denorius Belt, and was later adapted into weaponry for use on Bajoran military defense starships. It generates a defense cloud of compressed particles that facilitate high-intensity pressure waves to be sent through the vacuum of space. It may be upgraded into a standard weapon, swapped out for another experimental weapon, and placed in any other starship's experimental weapon slot. And then, of course, we have our Bajor Defense Warp Cores. This comes with the ship. the warp core and the Singularity core. Reward pack also comes with a warp core. Romulans also get a Singularity core. When first obtained, these items will be marked 12 very rare. The warp cores are part of the Bajoran defense set, which may be completed by obtaining and equipping additional pieces of the set, rewarded by playing Scylla and Charybdis. Featured episode each week. Say it again?
Charybdis.
Okay.
It's just think Greek mythology.
Yeah. That doesn't help.
Helps me.
I don't speak Greek.
You don't need to speak Greek.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
All joking aside and everything.
Anyway. Yes. So, it's a very interesting core. Hyper injection warp cores increase maximum engine power by 5. Defense of Bajor was brought about the development of the Federation warp core. This warp core emits an energy siphon field in a proximity around the vessel, which can affect targets. When utilized with other equipment from the defense of Bajor, it can gain the ability to hinder enemy maneuverability and lower their resistances, while providing boosts to your own maneuverability and resistances. Okay? And same thing with the Singularity core. And yep, same thing with the Singularity core for Romulans. And except that the Hyper Injection Singularity core increases engine power level by 5 to 15 based on your Singularity charge level. And it will have an existing generic bridge that can be used by players of any allegiance. So there you go. That is quick and dirty. Well, not so quick. The Bajoran Interceptor. Comments, Chris?
For me, it is definitely looking like it's going to be one of the more interesting escorts that I've flown.
Yeah.
Everything. I know one of my good friends and one of my co-leaders of my fleet actually already has the ship, and so far he likes his version of it. So, the good thing too is this gives you a phaser option for your entire account by getting this ship. So if you're somebody that likes phasers but you don't necessarily think you're going to like the ship, at the very least get the ship for the console, because that's going to be a passive boost to phaser damage.
Yes,
you can pair that with the Quantum Phase as one example, and get even further phaser damage than normal. So it is definitely worth picking up, if nothing else but for that reason.
Yeah, phasers are getting a lot of consoles that boost them recently.
Yep. I think they're going back and giving a little bit of love to all the energy types, which I'm certainly not going to complain about that.
Yeah, they are, because Disruptor before was with the Nautican set.
Yeah, there's Disruptor.
Was getting quite a bit, yeah.
And then, yeah. But, anyways, that's our anniversary ship. Definitely go after that. Next big thing we have is Star Trek Online partners with Loot Crate. It says, Star Trek Online is partnering with Loot Crate to bring you some stow goodness throughout 2018. Loot Crate is bringing the final frontier to your doorstep every 2 months with their new Star Trek Mission Crate. And starting at the end of January, each of these boxes will include codes for Star Trek Online. You'll be able to unlock in-game items like starships, bridge officers, gear, and exclusive emotes. It says, but that's not all. It said, head over to their Facebook and Twitter. I think this is already done. That portion, yep, that portion's already done. But you could have had a chance at getting the new Bajoran Interceptor without the grind. Anybody out there listening to us actually did win the ship, then congratulations, folks. But yeah, if you're somebody that enjoys stow, that you enjoy getting fun little nerd trinkets, odds and ends, then I would advise checking this out. And some of the codes they do give away from time to time, they're not cheap stuff. I want to think it was you, Kirby, that was with me when I tested out the new Command Sovereign when I was lucky enough to get that from WizKids, but
I think so.
it was, if it wasn't you, then it was somebody else, but
yeah.
So yeah, comments about this, Kirby?
It looks really good, and starting the end of January, so it should be very soon when it comes out. So hey, looks very good. I don't do Loot Crate. I do believe it costs some money, if I remember rightly.
It does.
But, yeah, that's why I don't do it. But, yeah, definitely. But definitely, if you like doing that kind of thing and can afford it, looks like it's going to be pretty good. Pretty good prizes there.
So definitely check that out, folks, especially if you're somebody that enjoys this kind of thing. But that's what we have for the articles this week. Wasn't really a lot to go through, in all honesty. But anyways, moving along, we have our budget build for this evening. And this evening, we did a mid-range build for the Lucari ship. Now, this is the Lucari science vessel from last year. I couldn't find the new Pleshbrek, or not Pleshbrek, but the Plesh now in the builder. That wasn't in the builder yet, so sadly we've left, we can't do a build on that one just yet. Whenever they do add it to the builder, though, I plan on doing a budget build for that, just for you guys, everything out there. But keeping in the spirit with the anniversary, since this was one of our anniversary ships, I decided, why not do this? You know, we get the anniversary ships and everything, and then what do you do with them from there? So, to kind of mix it up a little bit, since we hadn't really done a mid-range build in a while and everything, this time around we did a mid-range build for the ship. As far as our weapons go, on the front of the ship we have a Dominion Polaron beam, we have our particle emission plasma torpedo, and also our chronometric Polaron beam array. Then on the back end of the ship we have two more Dominion Polarons, as well as our chronometric Omni. Then, completing the three set of our chronometric, we also have our tactical console, the chronometric capacitor. These come from the Time and Tide mission, with the Peptorp being crafted or purchased from the exchange, as well as the Dominion Polaron beams being from Boldly They Rode and also Operation Gamma. Or no, actually, Boldly They Rode, I'm thinking of Jim Hadar set. So, slight brain fart on my part there. Very slight brain fart and everything. The Dominion beams come from Boldly They Rode. But speaking of Jim Hadar set, for our shields, our engines, our deflector, and warp core, since we are using Polaron weaponry as a base, we went with the Jim Hadar set to kind of play on that. This will give us some Polaron buffs, as well as some other nice toys to play with. And this is a free set that's been in the game for quite a while now, in my opinion. For a free set, it is one of the tankier ones that I've seen. And if you're somebody that enjoys Polaron, or just enjoys a Dominion type of set, or a Dominion feeling ship, then this is the set you're going to want to check out. But since this set does not come with a warp core, since it was created in the days before warp cores existed, we have to source a warp core out. Now, you do get the Braden warp core that comes with the ship. However, I feel that the Braden warp core isn't going to give us as many benefits as our trusted temporally phased overcharged core. Now, the Braden warp core is one of those sets that I've discussed with Timberwolf, with Kirby, and some of the others, and while it definitely has its uses, to me it's just one of those ones that's kind of like, eh. You know, it exists, and that's about all I can really say about it. But again, that's just my personal preference. But for the temporally phased overcharged core, the reason this is such a staple on our budget builds is because it's a free warp core, but also because of the capacitor that it gives. Now this particular warp core, if you're familiar with the Delta recruitment event a few years back, then you know about a little device known as the Temporal Negotiator. Now the Temporal Negotiator would cut your bridge officer cooldowns in half for the duration that the device was active. This gives you the same thing in the form of a warp core capacitor. So it is a very, very potent core because of that. And since the ship comes with a secondary deflector slot, this leaves us with needing to get a deflector. In this case, because they're easy to procure, they're cheap, we went with a secondary deflector from the Fleet Lab. Everything. So this is pretty good. This is one of the strategic inhibiting from the lab, and this is the item, since this is a mid-range build that we took to Epic. In this case, we picked up the one with Control X, Defense, EPG, and SA plus damage. At Epic, it would get the EPG and Shield Heal. Now, this is what it starts out as. With re-engineering and everything, now you can re-roll some of these mods a little bit to better suit what you're after. But this is the way it will appear as the base item. Then, for our devices, we have 3 slots. We typically like to think of our devices as personal preference, though one that we will recommend to anybody, since you're probably going to do the story mission anyway, is the Subspace Field Modulator, which, this is a little on-use device from the Skirmish mission. It'll give, I think it's 25 all damage resist while it is active.
Yeah.
And the downside to it is it debuffs you for a minus 400 proton damage resist rating. Now, there's not that many enemies that use protonic damage in the game, but depending on where you're going to go, if you're going to go into a PvP environment, or even against certain enemies, there are still a few enemies that do use protonic resistant or protonic damage, so it is something worth making a note of.
And that's plus 34 all damage resistance.
Okay, plus 34.
And
okay.
plus 15 defense rating.
Okay, so I forgot about the defense rating as well, it seems.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And I do
Now
try
we
to
see why that's so good.
I try to remember a lot of this stuff and everything, and you would think me being the tank out of our group, well, that primarily plays as a tank, I should say, that I would have this memorized by heart, and just, I guess I don't use it enough, apparently. But,
Well, it's more that there are some things that we've learned are ingrained that, yeah, this is good, you want that, and,
that's true.
you know, so we don't, while we know it's good, sometimes we don't look at it closely for a while, so we forget. We know there's some defense, and there's, there's stuff that make it good when it's no shit button, but we don't always remember exactly what it has until we look at it, so.
But, continuing
That's why
along,
tooltips are there.
Oh, exactly. Definitely read the tooltips.
Yeah.
But, continuing along, to give a little bit of defensive value to the ship, because we don't want to completely gimp ourselves in this area since we're going to be throwing around a lot of psi powers and are going to be generating a lot of threat, we have the Trillium deplating from the Ragnarok mission. Now, what makes this one so good is it's essentially a neutronium armor and a field generator all slammed into one console. So not only is it going to give you damage resistance, it's also going to give you a pretty hefty buff to your shield capacity, about 20% I believe at Mark 12, and then it gives you around 20 all damage resist. So pretty nice bonus all in one console there. Then for our other more well-known console, we have the Assimilated module, and this does give a bit of critical severity as well as critical hit chance, but the lesser mentioned buff that we picked it up for was for the Control X that it gives as well. Then, for our other console, our Universal, this is one of the money consoles that we picked up, we have the Delphic Tear Generator, which gives around 20% bonus exotic damage, and has a nice cone attack with it as well. Then we have our Protomatter Field Projector. This is the console that comes with the Lucari ship. This is tantamount to a regenerative integrity field from the Kobali Samsar in terms of potency and power, whereas the regenerative integrity field tends to heal more in burst and tends to heal a bit more up front. The Protomatter Field Projector is an AoE heal, not just for you, but for allies as well, and tends to spread the healing out a bit more evenly, and isn't as bursty as the regenerative integrity field. And I know for me in some missions, and I'm sure Kirby has as well, we've seen objective-based missions where you have to protect something go from near dead back to full off of one of these consoles. So very, very potent if you're looking for healing. Then for our science consoles, we have 5 slots. 4 of them are the Control X EPG Restorative Particle Focusers from our Crenham Science Lab. One of them, I went with a Drain X ×2 to give a little bit of a boost to the Polaron Drain. Then for our tactical consoles, we have the Chronometric Capacitor that we mentioned earlier. And then finally, we have a Directed Energy Distribution Manifold to boost our beam damage. Now, this console we picked up from Terminal Expanse in the Yesterday's War story arc. To see the Terminal Expanse mission, you will need to have completed all previous missions for it to show up in your mission journal. Otherwise, you will not be able to see it. So, equipment-wise and everything, hopefully you guys can kind of see where we're going. We wanted to make it decently strong in the science department, and also decently strong in the beams area. So we wanted people to be able to attack and do fairly decent with both parts of the ship. For our skills, it's... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, basically we wanted to have a lot of Control X, a lot of EPG. You'll see why in a bit. And we wanted to have a decent amount of damage for the energy weapons as well.
So, not completely Space Wizard, but not completely weapons-based either. So, for our skills, it's pretty much similar to the builds you've seen us do before and everything. It's a somewhat jack-of-all-trades type of build. I use one similar to this myself. For our Lieutenant tier, we have 2 points into hull and shield capacity each. We have 1 point into shield restoration and hull restoration each. We've also maxed out our energy weapon training. We also have our improved EPS flow on the Lieutenant Commander to buff our power transfer. A point into impulse expertise. We also have 2 points into control expertise and drain expertise each. Then we also have our advanced targeting expertise, which will offset some of the firing mode accuracy penalties to things like FAW and cannon rapid fire, cannon scatter volley, I should say. Then we have 3 points into defensive maneuvering. This will make the ship harder to hit, which is going to be a plus since you're going to be generating a lot of threat with this ship, and especially since you're using science powers. Then we have all 3 points into our energized hull plating. Again, since you're going to throw around a lot of threatening abilities, you're going to want to have a little bit of extra defensive value under the hood. Then we have 2 points into improved shield hardness. This will reduce damage to your shields. Then you have 3 points into weapon amplification and also specialization. This is free critical chance and severity just by having these added. 1 point into defensive and offensive subsystem tuning each. This is free power just by picking those up. Then we have 3 points into our EPG and also our long-range target sensors. Our EPG is going to buff our science-based powers, and then our long-range targeting sensors is going to reduce the weapon drop-off penalty for being farther away from the target. Then you have either your choice of hull penetration or shield penetration. You can make arguments for either one. There is no right or wrong answer. As long as you have at least one of these on your build, you're going to be doing pretty good. In this case, since we're going to be doing a lot more exotic-based powers, everything that tend to ignore shields a little bit more, we went with hull penetration. Then you have 1 point into warp core potential and warp core efficiency. This is going to give free power, especially at the lower levels of power with our core efficiency. This is what we have for our skill points. Then for our specializations, we went with temporal operative for primary, since we're going to be throwing a lot of science-based powers around. This is going to give us some nice tools to play with. And to mix it up a little bit, to balance it out and give a bit of defensive value to the ship, we used Miracle Worker as our secondary specialization. Then, for our ship, we'll take a quick look at the traits and everything. Then we're going to take a look at our bridge officer powers and hopefully explain how all this comes together. Now, the personal space traits, this is where we spent quite a big chunk of our EC at. Now, for our mid-range builds, in case you're not familiar with the rules we set out for those builds and everything, the budgetary limit is 30 million energy credits, and you have enough dilithium to take a single item up to epic quality. Everything else has to be free or as cheap as possible. So our first major trait we have is actually psychological warfare. This improves the effectiveness of our control powers, things like gravity well, anything that's a confuse, a disable, a hold, a knock, placate, repel, root, slow, things like that. Then we have ablative shell for a bit of defensive value. This is what I usually recommend people replace nanite repair matrix with whenever they get the chance. Whenever you take a decent amount of damage, you get a heal over time effect and damage resistance effect while ablative shell is active. Then we have invasive control programming. Whenever we activate a control power, such as jam sensors, we can get a subsystem offline effect on the target. We have accurate to reduce the weapon penalty, or the accuracy penalty for things like thaw and scatter volley. Beam training for a free boost to our beam damage. Elusive to make the ship harder to hit. Fleet coordinator for free damage based on how many people we have in the party, including ourselves. Then we have our Grace Under Fire trait. This is because the builder always defaults to engineers. If you are not an engineer but would like to use this build, then simply swap in your own career-specific trait and you should be good to go. Then we also have Particle Manipulator. This is our R&D crafted trait for this go-around. We always like to assume that you've leveled at least one of the crafting schools up with your character. In this case, we chose the science one. This gives a portion of our particle generator's skill as critical chance on exotic damage. So, pretty decent chunk there.
Oh yeah.
Then, go ahead.
That will definitely give a very good chunk and will increase the critical hit and critical severity of your exotic abilities, and is a very good ability to have if you're doing all or most of your damage with exotic abilities.
Indeed. Then for our starship traits and everything, we have the best defense. This gives our attack patterns a whole healing buff along with their normal effects and everything. And it's a free trait to pick up and everything to kind of fill the slot, mainly because I didn't want to leave it blank, even though we don't really have an attack pattern on the ship. But anyway, I'll explain where we could fit an attack pattern in later, but anyways, for our space reputations, we have our advanced targeting systems. This gives a free bit of critical severity while in space combat. Then we have precision for a free bit of critical hit chance. We also have our particle generator amplifier. This gives a bit of extra boost to our exotic base damage. Then we also have our Ox Power Offensive, which gives a bit of a damage boost based on our Ox Power level. For our active reputation powers, we have Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. This is a very nice little kick in the pants to the enemy, even by today's standards, and is an AoE slow and damage effect. We have Biomolecular Shield Generator. This is a nice little power. This is also the green ball looking thing that you see a lot of people using. And somebody else has joined the channel. And it is one of our folks that sometimes sits silent in the channel while we broadcast. But anyways, Biomolecular Shield Generator is the little green ball you see people using sometimes in ISA. It's an AoE damage reduction to shields, as well as buffing shield regeneration and everything. Very nice defensive power. Then we have our Deploy Sensor Interference Platform. This is an oh crap I'm about to die button, at least the way I use it anyway. And this will poof up a little sensor platform that, while it is active or until it gets destroyed, whatever happens first, it will taunt enemies to attack itself and hit them with a feedback pulse. So, very nice little ability. You can use that to duck back and crack out a heal, whatever you need to do. Then we have our Quantum Singularity Manipulation. This is one of our most potent science-based powers. This will give a plus 100 boost to all science powers and all science stats for the time it is active, as well as giving a temporary cloaking effect. Now, to get the best bang for your buck when using this particular power is to crank your Quantum Singularity Manipulation, follow up with the 3-piece set from the chronometric beams, because that will give you an energy damage boost and a exotic damage boost when you use the chronometric 3-piece. Then follow up with any other exotic boosts you may have, such as batteries, and then crack off a gravity well, smack them with your Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity, and any other based effects you may have, and gets pretty nasty from there.
Yes.
But anyways, coming up on our Bridge Officer powers and everything, this is where hopefully everybody will see things start coming together. So let's go ahead and for this particular ship you get a Lieutenant Universal, Lieutenant Tactical, Lieutenant Commander Engineering / Intel, a Commander Science, and a Lieutenant Science for the Lucari ship. Now for the Lieutenant Universal seat, we decided to go with a Tactical for this particular ship. And for this particular ship and everything, we used a Chemosite 1 and a Torpedo Spread 2. Now the Chemosite is a nice little power that will give a bit of extra radiation damage to some of our weapons. And then our Torpedo Spread is allowing us to take advantage of our Pep Torp and spread a nasty radiation cloud everywhere. But
yeah, the Pep Torp is actually a very good torp to put on any ship that has a lot of EPG, because the cloud, that particle emission cloud that it lets off, is boosted very nicely by exotic particles, by exotic particle generators, and it is just nasty. You'll find it'll be some of your largest damage source if you put this on a science-based boat.
Absolutely. And
yeah.
Anyways, our Lieutenant Tactical, we have our Tactical Team 1. This will redirect the shields as well as purging certain debuffs. Then we have our Fall 2. I about said Fall 3 for a second. Whoopsie. But have our Fall 2 to allow us to smack anything within range with our beams. Now, one option you do have, and this is something that me and Kirby had kind of bounced around and everything, and one of the reasons I left the best defense on the ship is if you want to run with an attack pattern, you could downgrade from Spread 2 to Spread 1, and then put an attack pattern on the ship. Otherwise, you can stick with what you have, and you're going to do good either way. So that is one option that you do have, and that I did want to bring to your guys' attention. But, like I say, keep in mind, this is just a template and everything. Feel free to change it up as you need. For our Lieutenant Commander Engineering / Intel, we have our Engineering Team 1. This will give us a bit of our hull back. It regens a bit of our hull, as well as purging certain debuffs, such as those pesky viral matrix effects that the Iconians love to throw around everywhere.
Yeah, it will also, I wanted to mention that Engineering Team also repairs offline subsystems.
Yes, indeed.
And that's going to be important when we talk about another ability that's coming up.
Then we also have our Reverse Shield Polarity 1. This is going to recharge the shields in a pinch whenever you need to do so. Then our next power we have is our Override Subsystem Safeties 3. Now, we had debated a little bit between if we wanted to go with Subsystem 3 or if we wanted to go with Emergency Power to Weapons, or perhaps even Emergency to Aux in this case. And we chose Override Subsystem Safeties 3 because essentially what this does is it allows you to access any overcapped power you may have, as well as giving you extra power to all of your subsystems for the time it's active. It steadily decreases as the power wears off, and then once the power wears off, you have a subsystem offline effect. It's a random effect. It could be any of the 4 subsystems. So that's one reason why Engineering Team is good to have here, because it can restore most of those subsystems. But part of our thinking behind this, as to why we didn't use Emergency to Weapons or Emergency to Aux, is the fact that Override Subsystem Safeties 3 can buff both your weapons and your exotic damage while it's active, as far as buffing your Aux power goes. So that's kind of our thinking behind that. But like I say, feel free to change the powers around to what works for you. But speaking of science, we have our Commander Science seat. We have our Transfer Shields 1. We have our DRB 1. This comes from the Blood of the Ancients mission, I believe. I think I put that in the notes. If not, I'll have to correct that at some point. Then we have our Subspace Vortex 3. This is a very nice power. This is one of our money powers that come from the lockbox. You can usually pick these up for about 3 million in exchange. Then
Subspace Vortex is definitely a good one to pair with Gravity Well, and definitely with the Tier 5 ability, Anti-Time Entanglement. Anything that holds something in place or that is a stationary target. Any stationary target is good for Subspace Vortex. It's also good to use Subspace Vortex if you throw out a Gravity Well and throw out Subspace Vortex. It'll definitely just murder everything around.
And speaking of Gravity Well, that's actually our next power, is Gravity Well 3.
Yes.
Then we'll take a look at the Lieutenant Science, and then there is a couple of tricks we do want to give to you guys as far as using this particular build goes, and everything. Then you have, for Lieutenant Science, you have your Science Team 1. This will recharge your shields a bit. It'll also purge certain things, such as subnucleonic effects. Then, finally, you have your Hazard Emitters 2. This will give a nice little healing over time effect, a brief little bit of damage resistance, and also remove certain things such as the Borg Plasma Fires. But I should have most things in the notes. If I forgot anything, let me know, guys. I'll correct that at a later date and everything. But as far as the ship goes, hopefully you guys can kind of see what we're going. We wanted to give the ship a lot of science-based power because it is a science ship, and it would be foolish, I think, to ignore that science potential. But one of the things that I would recommend doing, if you're going to go for broke with this particular ship, and I'm sure Kirby would probably agree with most of this, maybe activate her abilities slightly different, I would say open with your Quantum Singularity manipulation to get your science buffs going, throw any other of your buffs, exotic base that you have, throw your override subsystems, fire Gravity Well, that'll group the enemies up, throw your Vortex, your DRB, then smack them with your Pep Torp on top of that. And with all of that EPG boosted up at once, with your chronometric set, with your Quantum Singularity manipulation, you're going to burn them for a lot of exotic base damage, and that's not even counting what your beams are going to do on top of that. So
the only change I would make is I would do the battery first, because the Quantum Singularity bonus is only good for 8 seconds, and so I don't want to run out of that bonus before I finish activating or deploying all of my abilities.
Fair
Whereas
enough.
the battery bonus is about 30 seconds. So.
Yeah, definitely some very potent powers to be working with. And you're going to melt most anything that comes your way. And if it's not dead, it's going to be wishing it was dead. But that's our budget build for this week and everything. We did use a bit more EC than we normally do. We used 27,700,000 EC, so that is the biggest thing there. But yeah. But once we get the Plesh Trawl in the builder, and eventually once we get our Bajoran Interceptor in the builder, we'll do some builds for those ships for you guys as well, so you can maybe kind of get some ideas as to what your options are. But anyways, coming up on our final segment of the evening, we have Teacher's Corner. What have you got for us this week?
Do you mean you don't have any bugs for us?
Well, okay, I have a few.
No, Chris, I broke it this week.
Okay, I do have... Okay, fair enough. I have a few I can throw
Okay.
out for the Bugs Corner.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted to wait till I got a bit more info on them first, but this gives me a good chance to do that. So, since we're doing our Bugs Corner and everything, one in particular that I would hope you guys can get me a little bit of help with is... I've been getting reports from people saying they've been having screen jitters whenever they encounter the Omega particles on the ground. They go to the Omega particle and their screen will just rapidly bounce up and down. Almost as though somebody's grabbed hold of the game and is bouncing it up and down rapidly. And everything. So if you're experiencing an issue or something like that, then feel free, let us know. The biggest thing right now I'm trying to do is I'm trying to eliminate the possibility of an AMD versus Intel type issue. So if you're having the issue, let us know. And everything, let us know your computer specs. What I would need is, I would need to know what processor you have. Is it an i5? What's the number on it? Then I would need to know what kind of video graphics you have, how much RAM you have, and what kind of operating system you have. Is it Windows 10? Is it Linux? Is it something else? And everything. That way we can try to get as much data as we can and eliminate those particular things.
And mail that info to @DarkBladeJK with the tagline, Chris, I broke it.
Really? Really? She would go there. But in seriousness, though, folks, do send it. Like I say, send it to me on in the game. You can send it to me in the forums and everything and whatnot. Just search DarkBladeJK. You can find it that way. Everything. Or send it to one of these screwballs that's on the show, and they can get it to me as well. But that's one of the big ones. Another thing that I was actually advised from Ambassador Kale is that if you're somebody that had an issue with your monthly Zen stipend not being delivered on time, especially lifetime players, they do have a fix for that coming. I don't know if it's already been applied or exactly when, but I do know it's going to be coming pretty quick.
Good, and be happy.
So
he watches it. He's like, come on. It's like every 5 minutes. Where's my stipend?
so yeah, that is some of the bigger ones and everything that are going around. Now, they do know about the Omegas failing and everything, or just automatically completing when they shouldn't. So, like I say...
Good, that's frustrating.
If you've got any other bugs, like I say, let me know. Let Kirby know. And let any of them know on the show. We'll be sure to get that to the devs and hopefully get a fix out pretty quick. But now, officially, we're over on the Teacher's Corner segment.
Now we're on the Teacher's Corner. Okay, so this week's Teacher's Corner is the Ultimate Tech Upgrade. See how I coincided that with the, you know, the Mega Keyring bundle? Yeah, good timing, huh? No. I didn't plan it, folks. I swear. I accidentally published it 2 weeks ago, and we never talked about it. But we're talking about it this week. Okay. So, the Ultimate Tech Upgrade. So this is the one where you put it on an item, and it takes it from 0 to 60. No, from 0 to Mark 14 Epic in one shot, no dilithium cost, and yeah, it is definitely a big upgrade, and you do want to be careful what you put it on. You don't want to waste it on something that you're just testing and may throw away, for example. So I do give some I do show what it does. I give some suggestions on what you would put it on. I'll be honest, re-engineering kind of changes whether you should put it on a weapon or not. If you know you're going to keep the weapon and re-engineer it, then you could put it on any weapon you want to at this point. But if you're looking to save dilithium, try for the weapons that already have the mods you want, etc., etc. Comments, Chris?
Definitely something that I think a lot of people have questions about from time to time. I know I usually get a question or two whenever the keyring bundle rolls around, but yeah, glad to see this one up. But anyways, folks.
Yes. Now we were going to discuss re-engineering a bit.
That we were. Now, a couple of things that we do want to touch base on a little bit, since we gave our first look at re-engineering on the show. A lot of people have probably already noticed this by now, but let me actually go to my bank to grab something that I can re-engineer. And the biggest one is that the price did increase from 500 dilithium per roll to 800 dilithium per roll.
800, yeah.
Now, you
and
also...
the price of salvage increased as well. It was 350, slightly, yeah. It's now 500. Yeah, so things did increase a little bit. Oh, 400, I'm sorry.
So, still a slight increase, but yeah.
Dang it. Yeah.
But that is some of the big things there. Now, at the same time, because I'd been keeping up with this, Bordicus did say that one of the upsides to the price increasing is that, although it is now 800 dilithium per roll, you're not going to get the same mod you just rolled again. So, if say you've got a one-off and you want to get rid of that annoying accuracy mod and everything, if you roll accuracy, you're not going to get accuracy again. Now, say you got a critical hit to replace that accuracy, and you rolled the critical hit, you will not get critical hit on that roll again.
But so, you may get accuracy back.
You could get accuracy back, so...
It's a chance, yeah.
It's a chance, but as far as the average rolls go, it is still between the 5 to 7, and if y'all heard that, that's my air conditioner turning on, because, once again, tiny room, big computer, gets blazing hot in here. Even during the winter. Let's see, what's a good weapon I've got laying around? Let's say this Coalition Disruptor here. Now let's go ahead and hit upgrade, go to our re-engineer. I don't actually have enough salvage to roll it at the moment, but you can see here it's still the same as normal, or as it was on Tribble. I can lock or unlock the various mods, all that good stuff. One of the big ones that I do think kind of sucks, let's see, let me grab, I'll grab this VOD or Polaron emitter right here. And one of the things that does kind of suck is you can't get Crit D2. That did not make it to holodeck.
For the epic mod. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did introduce
the double epic modifiers.
Yeah, they did introduce some new epic modifiers. Like you can get there was the standard one that we've had for a while, which is accuracy damage. Then there's accuracy crit D, accuracy crit H crit D damage, and crit H damage. So you can still get pretty decent mods. Go ahead.
Now, those that are looking to maximize DPS on a weapon, it looks like critical damage is the way to go. That's going to give you the most bang for your buck.
So, if you're somebody like me that definitely enjoys the pedigree weapons and everything, that's just my personal preference and taste of weapons, then you can see here it's an AC damage DMG4. I've not rolled the epic modifier yet because I still got a damage proc on there, and I don't really think the one off of AC is going to kill me too much, but anyway. That's some of the big things. Is the 2x epic modifiers did not make it to holodeck, sadly. But what's some stuff you wanted to go over, Kirby, with it?
Basically that there are a number of epic modifiers and different items, for example, like secondary deflectors, also have different epic modifiers. So, for example, on the secondary deflector, you're not stuck with EPG shield heal. You can get EPG control X, for example. So if you need that little bit extra of control X that you're looking for, you could roll your epic mod to get there. Also, one of the things that we've noticed is that some beams are really getting beastly when you re-roll the mods. A good example is the Dominion Polarons, the ones you get from Boldly Day Road. Curland here.
Had to get it out of her system.
Had to. The ones you get from doing that mission are actually becoming a little popular because of the fact you get the Polaron proc, you get the shield proc, you can get some decent mods on them, which you couldn't before, and if you put the critical damage as the epic mod, then you get that extra crit D, so you can now have critical damage mod for the epic. You can have the Polaron proc, the Tetryon proc, and a damage, and a straight damage on your mods, and that's a darn good beam, so we're noticing things like that.
There's
that are quite interesting.
So I was looking for that deflector because I knew I had a secondary in my bank.
Secondary, yeah.
So we can see some of the mods that you can get for the epic. If I mouse over, you can get EPG shield heal, which is the standard that we've had. You can get Control X EPG, Control X Drain X, Control X shield heal, shield cap Control X, shield cap EPG, shield cap Drain X, shield cap shield heal Drain X, hull cap shield heal, Control X hull cap, EPG hull cap shield cap, and hull cap Drain X. So, point being, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see some of the others. You can get SA damage, SA defense, SA heal, plus chance, minus recharge. On some of these, you can get Drain X, Control X, shield cap, shield heal, hull cap. You can get EPG, Drain X, Control X, shield cap, and hull cap. So you can make some pretty nasty weapons and deflectors
Yes.
with this new system.
And the other thing that we've noticed we had a friend of mine, J-Dog, was checking the exchange yesterday, and we noticed anti-proton, for example, a pedigree anti-proton beam. Well, pedigree, it had damage 3 pen with I think it was still the accuracy damage mod, was only 30 million. And this was Mark 14 Epic. Which normally a beam like that, normally a beam like that would cost you at least 100 million. So we are starting to see a drop in the price of the sought after beams. So that is a good thing.
If you're somebody like me that occasionally likes to try out some of the oddball energy types, then one that comes to mind is corrosive plasma. Now, I've had these dual banks sitting in my bank for a couple of years, well, several years since they originally released, and these used to be like accuracy crit D, crit D damage, and pretty much all the kind of oddball mods you can think of. And now, thanks to re-engineering, have been all changed to damage times 3s. And corrosive plasmas, they do a -1 to -20 all damage resist over 20 seconds, and they also do the plasma burn at the same time. So you've got the possibility of doing either or.
Yeah.
So, very nasty. Then Ilachi Disruptors as another example. I've not rolled this particular beam yet. Plus 50 armor pin and 100% shield pin is the proc on this one. Now you consider combining something like that with the other basic things. And now that you can get beams with the mods that you're after, and you can get these high dollar beams for quite a bit cheaper, and here's 3 of the corrosive plasma beam arrays you can see have been re-rolled even. So I definitely say they've hit it out of the park on this one.
Oh yeah.
But
oh yeah, definitely loving the re-engineering. And I do want to point out, if nobody out there has thought of it, or none of our listening audience, another very sought after console, the conductive RCS with EPS. Don't forget, you can now get just a plain conductive RCS, or a conductive RCS with a...
Those cannot roll.
Oh, they cannot.
They cannot yet.
I hadn't looked yet, yeah. But
So,
those will most likely be able to roll very soon. So...
Yep. Because keep in mind, Bordicus
keep
and
that
the
in
group,
mind.
they did say that it's not going to have everything from the get-go on the first day they launch it.
Yeah.
Over time,
Yeah,
they're going to add more stuff, such as maybe the warp cores, maybe the crafted consoles, stuff like that. So definitely get on there, let them know your feedback, say, you know, hey, I think this should be added, or, you know,
Yeah.
that different kind of stuff.
Yeah, but once that comes in, see, I hadn't looked at that yet. I was going to get to it.
Yep. But, yeah, that one...
Sorry.
Yeah, like I say, those can't roll yet. There's the possibility that they might in the future. But just yet, definitely hang on to them when you get them. But yeah, for now, kind of be planning ahead and everything. And even if you just get a base crappy beam, like if I wanted to do my corrosive plasmas, just getting a base array and everything,
Yeah.
getting the array itself, I can roll it to what I want.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's... anyways, that's some of our things that we wanted to go over with really quickly on re-engineering, because there had been some changes since we last touched base on it with you guys. But that's our show for this evening, folks, and everything. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and everything. But I know we were kind of short-staffed tonight, everything. Some of our other hosts had prior engagements and everything, so we definitely understand that. But if you've got any requests for a budget build you'd like to see us do, feel free to let us know. Tell us, you know, hey, I want a bare bones of this ship, or a mid-range, or a high-end. You know, let us know what ship you want us to do. Let us know what your budget level is. Let us know what your goals are for the ship, and we'll hook you up with a build and everything. If you think that your ship is in order and everything, but if you could just get your positioning a little better, or get that one little pilot maneuver, you know, mastered, you know, feel free to send us a video of you doing a mission so we can take a look at your piloting, and we'll help you in that department too. Because we always like to say it's about 80% pilot and 20% gear and setup. But also, if you've got any bugs, feel free to let us know and everything. I do pass reports along to the devs and everything. And also, if you've got bug reports and everything, you know, feel free to go onto the forums. There's a separate forum for PC and the different consoles. You know, tell them, say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. You know, give them, you know, step by step what you're doing to see it. You know, if you've got screenshots and video, that's even better. You know, if you've got ideas for a teacher's corner, you know, feel free to let her know. Say, you know, hey, how do I do this? And she may just make a video over your thing. And
exactly.
Also, if you've got any requests for the RP corner for Artie, he does take requests and everything. You know, maybe how you would RP a certain event or something along those lines. But definitely, like I say, if you've got any requests, let us know. All that good stuff. But also, we are starting to plan for the Las Vegas convention that'll be coming up in August and everything and whatnot. If you'd like to see us out there, then, you know, we do have the Patreon stuff and the GoFundMe and everything we've been trying to get going. If you want to help us out, that's cool. If not, then just spread the word. Hopefully we'll be back out there to get some more exciting news straight from the floor of the convention for you all. For now, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show, and we're warping out of here. Also, because I forgot to add this into the end of our broadcast, also a good shout out to our friends over at the Temporal Armada. Very cool bunch of people and everything. And also a shout out to our good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio. Another very great radio program. You guys will definitely enjoy those dudes. Definitely check them out as well. Sorry for not mentioning this in the main video, guys. It's kind of late and kind of slipped my mind. But giving you guys a good shout out now. Tacked on at the end here. I didn't forget you guys. I promise. Everything. Just a little bit of a brain fart.